Oh, is that Grinder? Is there anyone we should meet?
No.
I'm getting married.
You are?
Who's the lucky lady?
Don't know yet.
What do you mean?
I'm getting an arranged marriage. Well, assisted marriage. That's what we call it these days.
Dare I ask, what about love?
You grow to love the person you're with.
What, like Stockholm Syndrome?
Congratulations on the movie.
Thank you very much.
Like, I really think that no one does romantic comedies quite like the British.
It's not exactly true to say that Working Title invented the genre, because Nora Ephron did come before that, and yet you'd almost think they did, with Richard Curtis and all.
Yeah, and so, but why do you think it is, though? Like, because obviously Hollywood likes to think that they're amazing at romantic comedies, but you Brits just do it better.
Thanks. I have no idea why that might be, but I'm very pleased that you think so.
Bye. Jitterong. Alaikum salam, Auntie Aisha. What?
She still can't say it.
Assalamu alaikum, Aisha.
There you go.
Oh, that's exactly what I just said.
What I loved about the film was the way it examined cultural differences without offering any judgment about what was better. It just kind of celebrated the differences. And I came away with it certainly feeling enlightened, which I think was really nice. And that speaks to, I guess, your own personal experience, which I would love to talk about, if that's okay, because it's so curious to me. It's so curious to me. So can you cast your mind back to, the start of your romance with Imran and this prospect of being a part of a completely different culture? What was that like in those sort of early months?
First of all, thank you so much for your nice comments about the film. And it's sort of the perfect scenario that if you were entertained and you came away feeling, as you just said, enlightened. So I'm thrilled by that response. Could you please write our reviews?
I will be.
Yes, I mean, it's a long time ago now that I went to go and live in Pakistan as a 21-year-old second-year university student. And I went to go and live with my ex-husband and his entire extended family. We lived in a joint family household with his father, his sisters, their husbands, their children, and eventually my children. So, he comes from a pretty conservative background. So ours was the only marriage in the entire family history that was not arranged, and the only divorce. So I saw arranged marriage up close. I saw everything up close. And I was kind of immersed in the culture in a way that maybe most expats aren't, living in that particular environment in Lahore.
And so converting to Islam and being a part of that culture, being immersed, as you said, in a way that expats couldn't really even imagine. What did that teach you about Islam that you didn't kind of already appreciate? And what did it teach you about yourself and also Western culture?
Well, I mean, in short, so much. I definitely, I can't really imagine the person that I would be if I had not had that experience of essentially growing up in that country, because I think it's such a formative time between 20 and 30. I would say, I mean, it's hard to kind of sum up in very broad terms other than to say that it fundamentally changed me. I can talk to you about the specific things that that I learned or liked, that I particularly took away with me. One of those I was talking about recently is there's an Islamic concept called niyat, which is the concept of judging things by intentions. And I found that concept in today's world feels very important, because I think that we ascribe so much malice often to people's mistakes. And there's something about looking at when somebody transgresses and examining whether they did it in good faith and they had the right intentions, that they just messed up. And I think we live in quite an unforgiving world. So that's one specific example, and I'm sure I have lots of examples that are similar. But, you know, it's just it's sort of impossible to kind of quantify exactly, you know, how that experience changed me. Other than that, I see, you know, even having half Pakistani sons, with non-anglicized Pakistani names, for example, means that I slightly see things differently. So, for example, there's a line in the film where Shazad's character, says, "We need to leave now for the airport." And she goes, "Why are we leaving so early?" And which is a sort of, you know, the sort of thing that somebody who doesn't know might say. And he says, "Because I got to leave time to be randomly selected." Now that's it, randomly selected. And because I, you know, pretty much have to factor in time for random selection on an American, you know, if there's a flight where there's a short transit time, if I'm flying with my kids or if I'm not, the transit time has to alter as a result because they're called Sulaiman and Qasim Khan, and they are going to be taken off and questioned. You know, so there are certain things that it's not just about having lived in Pakistan for 10 years, that certainly gives me a particular perspective, but also bringing up kids who are Muslim and have Pakistani names or Arabic names even, and seeing sort of from that perspective as well.
Yeah, it's a fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And so then what did you, just to stick with specifics, so what did you, I guess, take away in terms of arranged marriages, seeing how they worked up close in Pakistan? Because obviously as Westerners, like we have our perspective on it, and some of that is, I guess, influenced by the perspective on how, you know, sort of the Islam faith treats women. So it's all kind of tied up in this idea of, you know, sort of the persecution of women. This film presents a very different picture of that. I guess, so how do you interpret it?
So I definitely, when I went to Pakistan, had a very particular viewpoint about arranged marriage, and I saw it, you know, pretty much like most of my friends in the UK, somewhat negatively, you know, possibly even conflating it, as many people still do, with forced marriage. And they are worlds apart. The world of forced marriage and assisted marriage, which is essentially just an introduction by the people who know you best. And so I came away actually seeing some real merit in this tradition. I came back when I was in my early 30s, I came back to the UK and was sort of, when my friends were looking to kind of settle down and have kids or whatever, I go, okay, so let's just examine who would your parents, if they'd been kind of, you know, sane and functional, who would they have chosen for you? And might that have worked? And it became a kind of point of conversation. And I actually genuinely think that I could have benefited from an assisted marriage type situation. And I think that we've slightly in the West gone the other way and been ruined by rom-coms. Because I think we have this like mad, mythologized, unrealistic idea of what love can do for us and what to expect from a partner. And there is something about the expectations and the practicality and the pragmatism of an assisted marriage that I think leads to probably better chances of success, frankly. I mean, statistically, you have you're much less likely to divorce, but you can say, you know, obviously society and stigmas factor into that. But I don't think that accounts for all of it.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, Jemima, is Richard Curtis has broken Western relationships. Can I quote you on that?
No, because he's a friend. So he'll kill me. But I definitely, you can say that I have been ruined by rom-coms. So I probably in the end am too indoctrinated. But I do think there's something to walking into love, not falling into it. Simmer then boil. You know, you don't start with love, you end with it. These are, I think, very sensible suggestions.
Yeah, I agree. And is it so much more crazy to let the people who know you best assist you to find a partner, a significant other, than it is to let an algorithm on a dating app do it? How does that make any more sense? And so tell me about Lily James, because I think she's fantastic in this movie. And to me, as someone who's watched her career for a while, it's felt like, she's really been waiting for a role like this that allows her to show a bit more range perhaps than she has been able to in the past.
I mean, I'm a huge fan. I think she's fantastic, but I think I'm biased, but I think she's particularly good in this role.
Am I just half the person when I'm not with a man? Is that what you think?
It's sort of a wonder to watch because she's a real perfectionist. So she is the one asking for another take, wanting an extra day, fighting for a particular scene to be kept in the film. She's so passionate and she has actually incredible creative judgment. So quite often if I was rewriting a scene or whatever, I'd sit with her and I'd go, okay, what do you think of this? And she'd go, I'm not sure about, we had a very, very good creative collaboration, me and Lily. And I came away, it's funny, she's so hardworking that my relationship with her when we were filming was entirely professional. And we didn't actually sort of become friends until after we'd wrapped because she's so focused that she's just interested in doing her best, which is, she's really admirable in that respect.
Yeah, and I love that you've got Emma Thompson, who is obviously a screen icon, and Shabana Azmi, an Indian screen icon. It is just absolutely a dream to see both of those actors share scenes together. What was it like for you to see that?
Well, I'm really glad that you know Shabana as the legend that she is. We always used to call her India's Meryl Streep because she is absolute. But I mean, she is actually India's Emma Thompson. She's every bit as powerful and charismatic and successful and iconic an actress as Emma Thompson. And actually, I feel we also did the same with casting Sajal Ali, who's a giant actress in Pakistan and very well loved there, against Lily. I felt she really held her own against Lily as a very, very viable love rival. So what was it like, your question, what was it like to see those? I mean, it was a dream come true, and that goes for all the casting, because I know I'm biased, but I don't think there are any duds in the film. One of them was Jeff Mirza, the grandmother who was originally in the film, dropped out literally the day before filming or 2 days before filming. And in a panic, I emailed the entire cast without telling Studio Canal, just saying, does anyone know someone who can play this role? And Jeff Mirza, who plays the dad, immediately emailed me and said, yeah, I've got someone perfect, and sent me this really random video of this woman kind of out of focus singing a song. And it was a bit weird, but we were totally desperate. So we went, okay, great. And then, but he didn't tell me until we were already into the filming that she'd not only never acted before, but she was also his mum. Just brought his mum to work. And the same with Mo the matchmaker, played by Asim Chaudhry. I don't know if you are familiar with Asim Chaudhry here in Australia, but he has he has this brilliant show called People Just Do Nothing that my kids were massive fans of, and they were huge. He plays a character called Chaudhry, and Chaudhry, my kids were obsessed by him, and they said, why haven't you got him in the film? And it was really close to filming, and he anyway, they said, why haven't you got him in the film? And always wanting to please my children and impress my children, I immediately, as Asim said, slipped into his DMs and said, any chance you'd be in? And he went, yeah, sure, send me some scenes and I'll read them. And so I wrote them specially for him and sent it kind of overnight. And he said yes. And I sort of think he's made the film. So.
Yeah. And any vices I should know about? Drinking, smoking, dogging?
No dogs, no pets.
No, dogging means something. Don't worry.
These days, it'd probably be a little bit unthinkable for a story like this to be told by a Caucasian scriptwriter. Obviously, your background, half Pakistani sons, there's no question that you're qualified to write this story. But did you ever think about whether it was your story to tell?
Well, first of all, it was really important that we had a director, South Asian director.
Who's amazing.
And Shekhar Kapur was actually born in Lahore. So, I mean, that definitely, he is the person behind the lens, and he's definitely not white. So that was important. And I do think that there is like an interesting conversation about who gets to tell which stories. I mean, we have, as you know, from seeing the film, there is a white lens storyline in it. Yeah. And the Lily James character, who is a filmmaker, has to grapple with that within the making of her film, within the film. So I felt I was quite well equipped to speak to that. It's an odd one because as we've discussed, I was very deeply immersed in my life in Pakistan, so much so that, we spoke Urdu at home. There was no aspect of life that I didn't immerse myself in. But it's interesting because I got asked to, I'm quarter Jewish, so my maiden name is Goldsmith, and I was asked to co-write a Jewish show. And I said to the studio who asked me, look, I'm not sure I can do this because I wasn't brought up familiar, particularly with Jewish tradition and culture. I've never been to a synagogue, and I was baptized, and I don't actually know anything about the religion or the culture. And they said, it doesn't matter. You're called Goldsmith. It's fine. And I said, no, but the thing is, I don't think I can be additive because I haven't actually said, no, it's fine. And I do feel completely equipped and qualified to tell the story that I tell in this film. And the testament to that, thank God, has been that the British Asian community and Pakistanis in particular have reacted so warmly and kindly to the film, which is obviously, a relief, frankly. But it is interesting that some of it comes down to like box ticking, and I didn't feel qualified to tell a Jewish story, but I was deemed qualified simply by virtue of my name and my ethnicity, which I think a more nuanced conversation perhaps needs to be had around who gets to tell which stories. That's a really long-winded answer, but
such a brilliant answer. I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head with that, and I think you do a fantastic job. I don't think anybody could do it better because of the experiences that you yourself had in that really formative period of your life. But then also being able to take a step back and have some distance. And the Lily James storyline that you mentioned, I think it works perfectly. And so I guess the final question I've got for you is what do you hope people take away from this film? Because it's obviously a fun rom-com, but, there's a lot more going on here.
Well, as you say, ultimately with a rom-com, what you really want is for people to go to the cinema and enjoy it. And I feel like people don't want to go and watch films that are hard work at the moment. They want escapism. And so most of all, first and foremost, I want people to enjoy it. And if in the process it confounds a few, if it challenges a few stereotypes or challenges some previously held views, or, as you said, if it enlightens people, then that's a fantastic bonus. But ultimately, I would like people to enjoy it.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will. Jemima, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. I really appreciate your time this morning. And all the best.
Thank you so much.
Promoting the film.
Thank you. Australia's seeing it a month before anywhere else. We're absolutely dependent on the Aussies to like it.
I'm sure they will.
We all need other people. There's no weakness in that.
Now the party starts.
I used to think that I was scared of being with the wrong person, but now I realize that I'm scared of being with the right person.